Good afternoon, Ann. How are you?
Hi, Matt. I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing great. It's busy here at ChipBot, so there's always a lot going on. I
Yeah.
know, for us, we were talking a little bit about biz dev, but we're in the next cycle of, hey, we got to promote new features of the product, got to attract a new wave of customers.
Hmm.
So I'm kind of in of like, okay, we got to take the bull by the horn and try to get as many users as possible. But if part of it is you can't, we need to do some product updates to kind of correlate with that. So
Oh,
I'm
interesting.
just in that mode, just like day in and
Yeah.
day out. We have new customers. We have a couple of new big customers that are onboarding. They need some new features too. So there is like a lot of work being done right
I
now.
love your approach, though. I love that you get the new client type, they need new features, and then they can almost guide where ChipBot goes with features because they need new features. So it's very client driven.
No, it's we only approve features if we know our other users can use them.
Right. But I'm saying the fact that the clients needs as you guys grow are almost on the path of leading that growth of saying this is what we need, and if it could be used with all of the other clients, then I don't know, I just think
Um,
that's really neat. It's like external telling.
yeah, it's so we're product led, right? So the all the features that we add is actually based on usage and requests. So it
Mm-hmm.
can't be one request. So a lot of things that we're building for some of these other customers, they came also on top of other requests that we have rejected in the past.
I
They got to
see.
hit a certain threshold. So we're
Oh,
not
okay.
we don't just say yes, right? Unless it's obvious. Like there's a lot of cases where it is obvious, but
Yeah.
um, because we're never we lag. We tend to lag around features. So for us,
Oh, okay.
the obvious features come into play when it's like, okay, 1, 2, 3, all right, hit that threshold, build it. Um,
Yeah.
so that means like we are being a product led company. It also means we say no about 90% of the time, because
Okay.
if we just say, okay, this customer has a great idea, let's build it, but they're the only ones using it, and we didn't apply any foresight before building it, then that's like kind of our fault, because now we built this feature for that customer and they're the only ones using it, and they may not be a high paying customer. So now we're stuck with this feature that only one person's using and may take a lot more. In the tech world, we call it technical debt. It may take a lot more work to manage that debt now.
Yeah.
And thus we're not losing money directly, but indirectly in the form of things take longer over the course of in the long run. So
Yeah.
we're really careful with features. And then we're also, we say tech debt. Think of it as there's a technical balance sheet. So oftentimes we're removing a lot of things too. So if we
I
see
see.
low feature usage here, right, we're going to axe it out. So it goes both ways. Otherwise, you have a bloated product. You can't keep the product lean. Makes it
Mm-hmm.
really hard to move fast. So it's a balance. I think from the outside, at the snapshot that I'm talking about this, it looks great because you see, okay, we're adding features based on feature requests, but you don't see the full spectrum, which is there's a lot of other folks. We said no, we needed the
Yeah.
tallies to make sense.
Yep. That's great. Thanks for walking me through that. How much do you think of your time right now is allocated to onboarding and managing these larger clients that you just acquired versus still new client acquisition?
But I mean, it's nonstop. I mean, I work like 12-hour days right now, so
Yeah,
I mean,
both equally.
it's
Both,
really
all
hard
of
to
the above.
explain because onboarding is not a thing, right?
Okay.
They pay us and we're done, right? It's
Yeah.
really it's a product. It's not like we got to handhold you. We got to show you these. We're not a white glove service,
Right.
so you use it as you need it. So they're onboarded right away. What happens is once they're paying and they feature requests and we approve the feature requests, then there's a build out of that, right? And there's a little bit more back and forth. It's not the typical of like, okay, go use it. We'll focus on other things. No, there's still a
Oh,
little bit
okay.
of conversation going. We don't count that as onboarding. That's just customer support, really.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and then so that goes on. That's a third of my day, almost every day. That like any type of customer interaction, because G and Tong, they're on our support staff. They handle a lot of the easy ones, but we have a lot of situations where people who resell ChipBot, they're more complex questions that you can't just solving it with the product or solving it in the way of like explain it like this is not what we're supposed to do. Like that goes outside the scope of our support team, so it kind of escalates to me.
Sure.
And then acquisition, I mean, that's always a new right now I'm pretty knee deep in new acquisition because marketing takes quite a bit of time to ramp up. I didn't do anything in December. We did a lot in October, ramped down end of November.
I remember these conversations.
Yeah, I mean, it goes in cycles. So October was great, ramped down November, December, nothing. Now January ramp back up. Takes a lot of work to ramp back up. Probably high chance by February, I'm saying, hey, things are looking great in terms of new acquisition. Maybe like mid-February to end February, actually. So it's like, that's the cycles I work, and that's like another third of my day.
Gotcha.
Podcast, recording, social media, they're all kind of part of it. To really move the needle, these don't really actually get new customers. These are like people who discover us, they want to follow us, and then there's like a long tail game. That's kind of what the content I create, that's really meant for them. This content that I create is not meant to like, oh, let's get 10 new customers. There's no way this content's going to do that. Yeah. The content that does that is often influencer partnerships, maybe ads, depending what it is. Right. We're a latent discovery product, meaning you're not searching to add video to your website. You find it and be like, this is great. I want this. So a lot of acquisition comes from, it's got to be referred by another person, and they got to see it to get that aha moment almost immediately. Right. So the people who
that's how I was acquired. I saw Brian's website years ago. And said, what is the video on your website? I thought it was so neat because I was actually seeking to put video on my website. But for me, I thought it was the old school way of shooting a brand video and getting all this video editing and then implementing the brand video in the code on the back end of your website so that it showed up and it was the whole wide screen and the whole thing, right? And for me, that's a really expensive process. It can be. And that was holding me back because I thought, well, I'm not ready for that high quality video, but I knew I needed kind of the hook brand video. And then literally as I was in the market for that, putting video on my site because I wanted it to be more of a living and breathing thing. And I haven't even touched my ChipBot on my video on my website in a while, and I know I need to. But we're also doing a refresh on Fix Inform, so it's getting a new site here in the next month or so. So I'm waiting until the new site's done, and then I'm going to upgrade my ChipBot video to be something a little more capturing.
On brand. Yeah,
more on brand, more capturing, just more right to the point of, converting people when they get there and showing a little bit of my personality. But I think it's fantastic. And when I saw it on another website and saw Brian just come to life on the website, I said, what is that? And then when I found out there was a free version, I mean, for me, it was a no-brainer. That's what hooked me. And I was like, I had to see it. I was excited about it. And of course I'm going to do it. And then now I'm a paid user and I haven't done anything with it yet because that's on me. And I'm also redoing the site, but I'm planning on doing more with it this year with really what it's meant to do, which is convert traffic on your website. I don't use the paid version that I buy to the fullest capability. And I know I need to. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of, part of like what I'm working on is, us being more proactive to do more automatic work on your behalf. So we have tons of businesses that are stuck on like, well, I haven't created my video yet. So, the next best path is like, okay, great. We're just going to we're going to pull a generic person. We're going to create some videos for you using like VO3 and Sora 2. Cool. We actually just rolled that out. It's in our test environment today.
I was going to ask you if you were going to implement some of the Sora usage for your.
It's really good. It's really good. It's really, really good.
All you need is a headshot or an avatar of that person, and you can create a whole video.
Kinda. Sora 2 will reject you on guidelines because they'll be like, you don't have. That's not you, basically.
So you can't do it as a third party on behalf of a client.
But VO3 you can, And then there's a new model. See, this is where Sora is going to have to backpedal on this, because there's another model called LTX2 or LIX2. I'm pretty sure it's LTX2. That one is an open source version of VO3 and Sora 2. Like basically they can generate video and audio in sync. Once you can do that, why use another tool that's more restrictive unless the quality is really high? And that's currently what it is now. The quality is still pretty high with VO3 and Sora 2, but it's just a matter of time when these open source models get enough quality where they start taking market share. And if they're open source, they're not free because you still have to host them or use a provider that hosts them, but they're going to be significantly cheaper than OpenAI and Google. And that's when they have to change. So it's just a matter of time when the restrictions from Sora are eventually going to open, because they can't afford to lose market share. Right now, Google is literally eating their lunch. OpenAI started the competition, and now Google has like some of the best models out there. So I think OpenAI will adjust. But regardless, like going back to like setup, like that's what I'm solving right now, and that's actually what I'm going to be marketing. Is the idea of like, you can have these experiences on your website, these hooks on your website. If you're not ready to have your own video, that's fine. We'll prepare it in a unique way that's meant for your brand, has your logo, right? The logo on the shirt, whatever.
That is your biggest marketing opportunity, to be honest. As a business owner who I am comfortable in front of the camera, so I can click record really quickly. And when I signed up for ChipBot, the conversion for me to get a video was done in minutes because I was comfortable doing that. But most of my clients and my friends who run businesses are not comfortable in front of the camera. And I would say that's your number one biggest fear, is that public speaking. And oh shit, I have to be on camera and do this. I don't know what I'm going to say. And then I have so many clients. I just had to talk to one today and talk him off a ledge of, the strategy around social media and how the advice he's getting is bullshit, and how you're a solopreneur and you literally need to slow it down. You can't have a strategy for every different platform because you're a party of one. And you literally just have to send it. You have to do it. And you literally just need to be putting content and filling out these platforms right now. You don't have 1 million followers. You don't need a strategy. You don't have a community manager. You don't have a marketing manager. You don't need different strategies. You just put out your brand and your videos and your content on these platforms. That's all you have to do. There's no magic. And there's optimizing and there's strategy eventually. But for right now, it's hitting record. It's putting the camera up and getting in front of it. And as a business owner or a salesperson saying, this is who I am, this is who we are, and this is what we do. Everybody thinks they just have to have this perfect, immaculate script. It's like, it goes into my share your fear thing of like the fear of sounding like an idiot, or the fear of not doing it right, or that fear of perfectionism. And I'm a recovering perfectionist. So I go through this and I walk people through the same thing I do all the time. Don't let that paralyze you. It doesn't have to be perfect. And there's no perfect way to do this. You just have to practice it a couple times and hit record and send it. And that, I think, is the biggest marketing, I think, for sure, especially in Q1, you saying to the public, we have the capabilities to do your first videos for you using your image, your branding, all of your things, and just give us a guide on the messaging, and you even do the messaging. Holy shit, Matt, like that's where I would put your attention, because that's where I'm hearing a lot of people are struggling right now with using some of these AI tools that do this on their own. Whereas if they sign up for ChipBot, to know that you're going to kind of hold their hand through that process, like, don't worry about it. We can even start your first videos, because then what's cool about this is your videos, once they see them, will then guide them actually doing their own video. So maybe
that always happens. Because they'll be like, oh, this is great. Now I know how to do it myself. Right. Yeah.
You're the lifeboat that's getting them back to the ship. Right. And then they go, oh, okay, now I feel safe and I've seen how this needs to look. So now I'm going to actually show up. I think that's brilliant.
I don't think this is where I think my perspective came. I don't think it comes from fear. I used to think a lot of it comes from fear, but I think it comes down to it's work that doesn't have an expected outcome.
That's part of it.
And when you don't know what the real result's going to be, it makes it really hard to say, I'm going to spend an hour to do it, because you may not get value back out of it.
Yeah.
Right? I
That's
used to
true.
think it was a big fear. And I know fear is part of it, but it's not. I am no longer thinking it's the majority because
Yeah.
I've been doing ever since I've been starting with you with the podcast. I basically go on camera almost every day, and now I reflect why I didn't do this sooner. It had nothing to do with fear, but I thought it
Uh-huh.
was fear. It actually just came down to time because
Oh,
before it was like, all right, I'm going to spend 30 minutes, maybe a few cuts, whatever, to do all this work. But where's it going
yeah.
to go? What's it going to do?
Yeah. So
Um,
it was the impact, it was the lack of awareness on the result or the impact that this time was going to give you.
that's right. So you have to reframe it as you're actually testing an idea. And that's actually what these podcasts are. That's what my social content is on ShipBot. They're all just tests, they're samples. There's no framework, there's no formula, there's no workflow per se of like how the creative process. Like there's a workflow how to produce it and do post-production, but there's no
Yeah.
workflow on like what about how these ideas are manufactured. They'll just shoot from the hip. And even when I do have a great idea and we'll say it hits on social media, it's you often not reproducible anyway.
Mm,
So it's everything's just a sample. So sampling is much different than like an efficient workflow.
I
And
see.
if you approach video as samples, it actually makes a lot more sense. It's like, oh, you just need to. It's no different than like, say you're at a gun range, you gotta pull the trigger. That's really the same feeling. You just gotta pull the trigger. A lot of people
Yeah.
are just like aiming, or maybe not aiming. They can pick up the gun. They're just doing nothing. So in
Yeah.
this case, you gotta pull the trigger, and the expectation is you're not gonna hit bullseye. There's no way. There's
Hmm.
no way you're not gonna hit
Hmm.
bullseye. But you gotta pull the trigger anyway. That
Yeah.
is what I kind of reframed, in retrospect of last year. Like that's my like mental reframing, and then now it's much easier to come up with tests. And now I don't even need to go on video to come up with new tests. There's a lot of situations where it doesn't require my face. Just recording on FaceTime, I actually just realized is the easiest way of doing it, but it's not the only way. And now that I have a baseline of like, how could I always produce content real, like, I don't like producing like mass volume of content, but how could I do it in a way that's not going to impact time too much? This is it,
Yeah.
right? Just go on camera, record.
Yep.
Now I know these are all samples. Now I know I can, it makes me feel more comfortable to experiment with like a little more ambitious ideas that have nothing to do with my face, but have a potential opportunity on social media.
Yeah.
It could, whatever it is, could be an animation, it could be a graphic, it could be a statistic. I don't know. There's like so many ideas. So
Hmm.
that's or it could be me narrating something that's animated. So
Right.
now that opened the door of like, okay, everything's a sample, and we're just testing things. Everything's a hypothesis. It's not
Hmm.
necessarily just ship it only and then pray for the best. It's like you ship it and you kind of see if there's a reaction. If there wasn't a reaction, you kind of figure out why. If the algorithms, what if you did like 5 more of them? Let's see.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say it's less fear and more time. Because I think yeah.
Definitely. In line with this concept, it's something I saw on LinkedIn this morning that I really resonated with, which was, a colleague was talking about getting, 200 rejections and no's to events he applied to speak at. And then he had 70 yeses in one calendar year. And I thought, wow, to get 70 events booked in 1 year, that is phenomenal. That seems really successful. But to be let in on the back end of having the 200 no's, it was like putting the data in front of you to say, it doesn't matter what the result is, because as humans, like for example, he focused only on the losses and not all of the wins. And so when you reframe that to say, I needed activity of 200 applications that were no's, that's just the work. That's just sending something and experimenting and testing and seeing what happens. And it was a no. Okay. So learning to separate the emotion of that rejection, or in essence, marketing is knows with how many impressions you get and then how many don't convert or become a client or a customer. Those are no's too. So you're looking at the activity that is needed, which is far greater of a no or a no outcome, to get all of the yeses and the acquisition and the new client and new customer and then booked speaking gigs, because you have to have more activity because you're weeding through who are your audiences and who isn't. And so as you test this, it's kind of the same concept of the activity needs to be there. The activity needs to be constant. You need to be experimenting with a lot of different things. But as humans, we focus on the losses instead of those wins and saying, oh, this was just the input needed to get to the wins, and then focusing on that. So that's been kind of my shift for 2026 as well, is I'm going to produce a shit ton of social media content, and I'm going to flood it, and I'm going to try and test, and I'm going to post at different days and different times. I'm going to post different concepts, carousels, reels, static images. I'm going to go live. And I used to think it was, this has to work. Like this is going to be it. Like this is going to be the thing. And there isn't a magic bullet. And like you said, like with the gun thing, you have to just pull the trigger. You can't go to a shooting range and then just stand there and say, oh, I'm at a shooting range. Like that doesn't produce anything. You actually have to try and do it.
There's another level to that though, right? So you can shoot all day, but what if you go through, you got to buy these bullets that cost a lot of money. So you go through your bullets. You don't even hit the freaking piece of paper. You just miss 100% of the time. What do you do after? Do you quit? Say you have extra money. So the money's not really a problem. You could buy more bullets.
Yeah.
You quit or you buy another pack knowing you suck. So what do you do? Right. So it depends what you do after with this data, because if you take another case and you miss it again, 100%, you miss everything. There has to be some type of course correction. Yeah. So you mentioned flooding social media. I would challenge that and say, that's fine. Test all day, but make something that not only you're passionate, but is really unique around you, that no one else can, that is your unfair advantage in the social media game.
Right.
Because I look at our podcast content too, and it's like we're still in our phase of trying to figure out what is an unfair advantage, but also something the audience cares about.
Yeah.
And I think we're still in that discovery phase. Yeah. So, absolutely. As you're working on the social media side, figure that. Because in Chipbot, we tend to not get both of them right. We talk really passionately, but didn't get a lot of resonance around it. Or we talk something the audience really likes, but they weren't really good for conversion, good for getting them on the website. Right. It's hard to get both of them, but both of them is truly how to make the gravy train to work. Because we tried the flooding thing too. It's very easy to flood the whole content, but if you don't produce,
for me is testing. I'm playing. I think I gave myself permission. I switched over for every piece I put out has to be on brand and perfect and and converting. And it was just so much pressure. I was kind of going crazy. And recently I shifted to just say, who cares? I'm going to go play. And I can also archive or delete things later. It doesn't matter. But now I'm looking at so much data, which is exciting. So now I have really clear, my best posts for views and then engagement is Sunday night between 7 and 8 p.m. Mountain, which I never would have thought, right? And then you think about my target audience, a lot of probably working parents, 35 to 55. And so 6 a.m. weekday mornings, Mondays are no, but Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it's hit or miss. That early when they're up at the gym or they're up before their kids or they're up and that's when they scroll. It's fascinating to me. It was totally different than what I even assumed from a business posting standpoint, because it's not business. This is more personal. But then, my business accounts are completely different. So I'm having fun. I'm finally playing and I'm giving myself permission to play with the kind of content, the things I say, how much of me am I putting out there? That's also something I've been afraid of I'm a pretty loud personality. I also cuss. I love saying fuck. So I'm I don't know, how much of that do I put out there? But the more I unfilter and the more I just show up, the better, right? And that's all you can do. So I'm producing content that is more of what my audience, I think, will either be entertained by or learn something by, so that it's more audience focused instead of just me venting at the camera. But I'm also playing with me unloading and venting at the camera because that's how I've used social for years.
Right.
So I already have like a huge following of that type too. So it's been really fun. I think I've gotten over the hump of it doesn't have to be perfect. Just send it and play and we'll see. And then I think I'm refining. Ultimately, I don't want to just be flooding. I want to have very strategic scheduled posts 3 or 4 times a week, not more. And we're getting there. I'm still figuring out what is hitting, but we're getting there.
That target keeps changing. Every time I figure out what hits, it basically changes 3 months later. So
Isn't it
it's very annoying, actually.
Same boat.
Yeah. Cool. This was a great conversation. We were able to still kind of stay on topic what we initially talked about. So
yeah, right.
Kind of worked out a little bit.
It was good. Yeah. Thanks, Matt. It was fun.
Cool. Thanks for discussing. Love to talk more about this in the future. So, but all right, we got to bounce. So see you later, Ann.
See ya.